your team is ready to go? I mean, it's the time is upon us now. Tell us how your team's approached this week and how they'll approach this weekend.
Oh, we are very ready. We feel like we've been waiting for forever for this to come. And so we're really ready. You know, obviously on the Thursday, the day before you start your regional, it feels very postseason-ish. And, you know, there's always a lot of hustle around the stadium getting it prepared. So this week's been fun to just kind of see that all unfold. And today going through our practice, and everyone's just in a really good spot. They're ready to go. I feel like we've been waiting and chomping at the bit a little bit. So we're ready.
How exciting is it to get the message yesterday that you're going to have a full park tomorrow?
Yeah, that's really exciting. I got a little sneak message, so I knew what is maybe coming. But you know, I was excited for 50% Razorback fans. 100% obviously is incredible. So we're looking to have a really electric atmosphere here this weekend.
Can you recall, you know, the last time they hosted, and several of your players told me that they felt like that crowd was a difference for them. Do you feel the same?
It absolutely was. It absolutely was. I remember talking to some of the other coaches in the regional, just saying every move they made, the crowd was on their back a little bit. You know, they went out to argue a call, and the whole crowd all around Bogle was yelling at them. And you know, especially coming off a year like this year, it's gonna feel like a ton of people, and so that's really exciting. But yeah, we absolutely felt like it was a difference maker in that regional, and we're expecting that to happen again this weekend.
Can you talk to us about Braxton and about Stormy? What's their?
They're both great. They're both great. They're both ready to go. So they're in a good spot.
So will you? Can you tell us how you'll use your pitchers at this point, or is
I don't know.
Determined?
No, I don't know. I think they're all ready. They're all ready to go. It's, you know, every game it's all hands on deck. So we're going to have a plan for who we feel like is the best starting matchup. We're going to have someone ready early. We're going to have someone ready late, as we do every game. So they know it's all hands on deck, just like any SEC game. That's how we're going to go into this as well.
Do you feel like that playing at your place, you maybe can get rid of some of the nerves that might be associated with postseason? Maybe your team will be a little more comfortable here than maybe the opponents?
Yeah, I think so. And I think anytime you can play on your home field and stay in your own bed, I think that's always a huge advantage. The good thing about this team is they're seasoned in the postseason, so they know what to expect. And even coming off the SEC tournament and playing on that stage with that coverage and everything, you get a little taste of it, which is huge. But this team is very seasoned, and I don't know that they'll be. I mean, there's always a little bit of nerves when you get in the postseason, but I'm not sure that we'll see as many as we would typically.
And last thing I was going to ask is, if I counted right, there's like one game in 17 or 18 days for you guys. Can you see that as an advantage or a disadvantage for you and your team?
Well, it just depends on what side you're on. I think it's an advantage. I think that our team feels like it's an advantage. We feel really good. We feel rested, which is really hard to have that feeling at this time of the year. But I definitely hear the comments of people not in our circle thinking that that's a question mark for us. I don't think it is at all. I think we're in a good spot. I think that, you know, it's in the big picture, it's just been like a couple weeks, a week and a half. We've had one game, you know, we play a lot of games. So taking a little break is not going to get us rusty.
Thanks, Coach. I'll let somebody else go. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Graham.
Hi, Coach.
Hi.
I was curious to ask you about defense a little bit. You know, we've seen the college game change so much in the last 10, 15 years in terms of hitting and pitching. Has the way you think about defense evolved or changed? Kind of what metrics matter to you, how you teach it?
Yeah, we have Matt Michael leading our defense, who's one of the biggest metrics mind, I think the biggest metrics mind, analytics mind in the game. So we have been using that for since he got here, really, of just kind of working shifts to what we give up as pitchers, what specific individual pitchers give up, and then what their offense and each individual offensive player typically hits, or any of those things. We'll run numbers on the better matchups. We'll run numbers on situations in which you may want to go around somebody to pitch at somebody else. So we're constantly looking at all of that and getting them comfortable in any position that we might put them in. But it's a huge part of our game, especially too, for how much we ask our defense. We like creating early outs. And so it has our defense handling the ball quite a bit. So I think that they're ready. They're practiced in all of the situations we may put them in. They have a card that they look at for each opponent, so they know exactly what to expect and what position to be on for each batter.
Did he have to win you over at any point about the value of those metrics? Were you ever more kind of an old school philosophy?
Not really. I mean, once he sits down and starts explaining it, you kind of just say, why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we? Why wouldn't we put ourselves in the position to defend more balls? And so a lot of times, I mean, you'll see our right fielder, we shade our right fielder into the gap quite a bit. A lot of people would worry about that 1% ball that's going to hit on the line or down the line. That's going to probably end up as a triple. But really in the end, you're just giving up one base to maybe, it's going to be a double anyway, most likely. So you're just giving up one base to potentially catch an additional shoot, for us 5 to 10. So it's a great trade-off. Probably more than that actually with that 1% ball, but no, it didn't take much time for me to get on board. I mean, he has all the data, he has the reasons why. I think we don't go solely off of metrics and analytics. We do look at just where we're at. I always kind of say we have a good balance of analytics and gut, and so we use that. It's not so black and white for us, but no, it didn't take much convincing because it makes sense to me.
Last one for you. When you're recruiting, do you recruit defense? Do you value a run saved as much as a run created when you're looking at a high school recruit?
We probably value more run created than run saved, more often than not. But that's going to depend on the position too. I think that there's certain positions you can't weigh too much more offense than defense. You need to have both. But again, we also really trust our ability to teach and develop. And so we always look at, what side's stronger, what do we need from that player? And then what can we do on the other side to make them better? And we trust our ability to do that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
Nate?
Yeah, just Courtney, what do you know about Manhattan, and also any worries about the team looking ahead to, since South Dakota and State and Stanford coming up Saturday?
No, I don't have any worries of us looking ahead. We've had a staying present, focus one game on a time mentality all year. So I don't see us getting too far ahead. And I also think they know the importance of the game Friday and Friday only. That's all we talk about. Our focus has been on Manhattan, as it should be in the postseason. And I think that we're getting a very hot Manhattan team. When you look at what they did in that tournament, they're clearly playing their best softball of the year. And to come in as a 6 seed, as kind of that underdog and kind of run through the tournament like they did, they're playing really well. They're obviously feeling very confident. And so we know we're getting a very tough version of Manhattan, and we're ready for that.
From what Hannah said, they got a left-hander pitching. Did you know anything about her from, what you've seen in the scouting?
Yeah, we watched, from the selection show on, we've watched a ton of video on them. And so we've focused our plan on what they do and the other pitchers in the tournament, just make sure we have everything covered. And then we've talked pretty in-depthly with our pitching staff of how we're going to attack their batters. So we feel like we have a really good game plan. Obviously it's up to them to execute, but we feel like we're in a good spot with our plan.
Obviously now when you're pursuing, national aspirations, but I was wondering with all the conference success that you've had, and baseball is seeking it, and track and soccer, do you think sometimes those South SEC championship achievements get kind of taken for granted or lost in the shuffle with all the national aspirations?
No, I don't know. For us, it didn't, for sure. We absolutely celebrated it, and we know how hard it is to do. So for us, it didn't. I was talking to Lance Harder the other day, who won, his upteenth SEC championship. I'm like, do you ever get tired of winning? Like, what's going on? Like, do you just, what happens? And so that's probably a better question for Lance. But for us, no, we don't take any of it for granted, and we celebrate all of it. And it's been really fun to not only have a good amount of success here, but to celebrate all our other sports on campus who have had tremendous years. And so when you look at each team, each team on campus had one of their best years in program history. And to be able to do that in a year like this year, I think it's incredible. And so I know we don't take it for granted at all. And so we celebrate everybody, and it's a pretty special accomplishment.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Eric?
Just to kind of expand on that, do you think that feeds off on the players seeing, their fellow student athletes like the Arkansas men's basketball team, Coach Musselman, the deep run in the tournament, baseball and the success they had, and all the other sports there? Do you think that feeds off?
I absolutely do. I think that when you see everyone else, like you see your friend, I mean, there's such a strong community here, and there's, they know everybody. And when you see them do big things, you want to be a part of that. I know as coaches, we have a huge support system with the other head coaches, and you just get invested in everyone's success, and you also want to have your own. You don't want to be the team that doesn't get it done, So, and I think that's felt from top to bottom. So I think that, I think they absolutely do feed off of it. I know I do as a coach, and I think they absolutely do as student athletes.
Was there a moment in the season, maybe it was even before the season, where you and as a coaching staff felt, you know what, this team can be special. This team can accomplish winning an SEC championship and being a top 8 national seed and a host? Was there that moment?
Yeah, I think that as we saw the fall progress, I'm going to be really honest, at the start of the fall, we're like, okay, we got a lot of work to do. And it wasn't necessarily on the field, but it was how just abnormal the situation we were in was. We had most of our team back. And then we have 7 freshmen, and we're trying to get everyone connected, but we can't do any of the off the field stuff that we rely heavily on. And so as you're kind of going through that, and you're having to be a lot more intentional about how you connect in your conversations and getting them all on the same page, you have that moment of, okay, well, what if we don't, like, this is hard. This is harder than it's typically. We have to work a lot harder. And then as we went through the fall, we had to change a couple things that we typically do because, not being able to play outside competition, we had to play ourselves a lot more. We kind of created that Athletes Unlimited. We did a Razorback Unlimited. And as we started to get through that, we saw a change in them, and we saw them being very comfortable competing with each other. We saw them start to talk trash a little bit, which I think is a really healthy, it means that you're comfortable competing. And I think that that's something we didn't necessarily have in the past is just that, I think we worried too much about feelings and not necessarily about just pushing each other and being our best version on the field. And when we started seeing that kind of come in and start to take shape and at the end of the fall, I felt like we were as connected as we've ever been. And I think it's because we had to work harder to do that and to establish that. We knew that we had the talent. And then when we were starting to see all those things unfold and take shape, we're like, this has the potential to be a really special year. And then you send them home for 2 months and you're like, well, if they do what they're supposed to, if they do what they're supposed to and they keep, staying on track, because we talked a lot about when COVID shut down and then when that Christmas break happens. And for us, it was longer than it's ever been because of just the situation we're in. And we kept saying, the team that wins this downtime and is the team that's going to be ahead when we get to go again. And they took that personal. They worked their tails off. They came back in January. They looked really good. And we picked up right where we left off. And then, when you get them back and that they took that downtime serious, which not all teams do, they have that look in their eye and we're connected. We're like, okay, we're more connected than we've ever been. You worked harder than you've ever worked. We're more talented than we've ever been. We're deeper than we've ever been. You start to realize like this has the potential to be really special. And so I know that was more than just a moment, Eric. Sorry.
That's good.
A long story. But so yeah, we absolutely, going into season, we're like, hey, this team has the potential to really do some, break some records and do some more firsts here. And it's been exciting.
That's pretty good. What did you learn from 2018 hosting that you've applied to this time around hosting?
I think it's more than anything. This is going to sound, it's just being in the moment. It's being in the moment. It's taking one pitch at a time. It's not making this any bigger than anything else. And I think it's just reminding them too that you earned this. You earned this. Your body of work, the year that you're putting together, the consistency in which you've shown up every day has earned this. And then making sure that's who we are as we go through the weekend. Especially when fans start to pour in, and we're going to look at 100%, and there's going to be more fans. That's new for us this year too. And so it's just controlling our emotions. I think we did a really good job in 2018. I think we've done a really, really great job of that throughout the course of this year. And so it's just controlling our emotions and staying present and fighting for each other.
Describe Mary Haff and the work ethic she's had to get back to where she is right now, where she's, co-SEC Pitcher of the Year, finalist for Player of the Year. Mm-hmm. How did she get back to her after some adversity, as every player goes through ups and downs in their careers?
She's a worker. And when I talked earlier about winning that downtime, she is someone that absolutely won that downtime. I think that, when you look at having to come back from an injury as a pitcher, when you're very in tune with how your body moves and how it works and how it feels, and then you have this foreign feeling, and you have this new normal that you kind of have to work through, and not being able to work as much as she typically would. I think when you look at last year, she didn't feel as ready as she should have. And sometimes, obviously pitchers, like you just want to feel like your best version. And still, she was still trying to kind of come through that. And when everything got shut down, she worked and worked and worked. And she's a worker, like I say, she's a worker. Sometimes it's like, okay, we need to take 2 days off to rest. But then you need to give yourself a little grace when you come back, because she's someone that if she could, she'd want to work every day. And so I just give her a ton of credit, because she worked incredibly hard on her mechanics. She worked on being fit. She worked on her spins, and she worked on the mental piece. And I think that we're seeing the best version of Mary Haff that we've seen. And she had a really incredible first year. Her freshman year was really special. And I think right now we're seeing the best version of her. It's the most confident version. It's the most emotionally steady, although she wasn't really not steady. I think she just understands a lot more of the ups and the downs, and understands that, hey, you might not have your A stuff, you have your C stuff, and you know how to win with your C stuff. And I think that there's no panic in her, which I think is huge. It's like, okay, I don't have my best stuff. I still know how to create outs. I still know how to be there for my team. And that's what she's done for us all year.
Thank you, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions for Coach Deifel?